观众朋友，大家晚安，欢迎持续锁定晚上9点钟的三立财经整点新闻，我是王志玉。6月份我们帮大家特别企划的这个毕业典礼当中的名人演说，跟大家分享他们的人生智慧。昨天呢，我们听了希拉蕊的演说，今天来听听她丈夫美国的前总统柯林顿的演说。柯林顿呢，其实也算是一个传奇人物，甚至有人用不要谈他的绯闻，我们光看他的政绩，有人说他是美国最优秀的总统。那当然啦，这个我们只会一直联想到他的绯闻吧。我们就来看看他是什么样的一个人生过程，可以到最后成为美国的总统，甚至有人说他是最好的总统。他从小时候就是一个非常非常优秀的学生，而且呢，不只是学生而已，他是非常优秀的学生领袖哦。那么他同时呢，念书念得非常好，所以呢，他攻读法律博士学位的期间，他认识了希拉蕊。29岁两个人就结婚，30岁柯林顿就从政，30岁呢，他就当选了阿肯色州的总检察长，从这个职位开始展开他的从政之路。因为呢，他就在32岁非常年轻的年纪，他当选了阿肯色州的州长。因为他人又高又帅又会讲话，那么所以呢，他是最年轻的州长，就32岁的时候。那么在执政期间啊，那么当然他有一些风风雨雨，但是后来呢，他依旧是开始选总统，而且真的选上。46岁他参选总统，那个时候打败的是连任的总统老布希。那么他上任的时候呢，面对的是困境，什么样的困境？老布希留下了非常非常严重的财政赤字，这也是为什么后来有人说柯林顿是做得最好的总统，因为他就像是一个企业的领袖，他带领着这家企业转亏为赢。老布希他的前任总统给他留下了非常恐怖的财政赤字，美国有史以来最高，国家欠的财政赤字有2900亿美金。但是呢，柯林顿怎么做呢？削减财政赤字，然后维持强势的美元，尊重联准会的货币政策的独立性。他短短6年时间，他就让整个财政转亏为盈，只花了6年，把史上最多的亏钱让他赚钱。所以如果他可以有一家企业来经营的话，一定做得非常棒。甚至在2000年，他的财政盈余2370亿美金哦，本来欠比这更多的钱赚了，通通赚回来，不止没亏，还赚这么多钱。好，那么所以呢，就是因为他让财政转亏为盈，所以有人形容说他是美国有史以来最好的总统。但是花边新闻很多啊。好，我们来看这个白宫的女实习生路文斯基，她跟路文斯基之间的性丑闻，有人叫拉链门，重创了她的形象哦。那么她也因此面对了弹劾案。不管你财政做得多好，政策提得多好，私德这个也是大家认为他有负面印象的一点哦。好，无论如何，我们回归他的政绩来看，他可以把这个财政做得这么样的好，那么因此呢，大家还是赋予他执政这个方面，不谈私德，执政方面给他很高的评价。那么在他卸任之后呢，其实在他的太太希拉蕊跟川普在整个竞选过程当中，他一直在努力的。他卸任之后在做的是防范艾滋病跟全球暖化。那么全球暖化这一点，巴黎协定川普不是推翻了吗？光是这一点他杠上了川普了哦。好，那么继续我们就要带您看柯林顿，他应邀出席了纽约私立大学的毕业典礼来讲话。那么他的演讲当中的重点，他提到了，他说这是一个最好的时代，同时也是最坏的时代。什么样的道理，什么样的逻辑呢？柯林顿的人生智慧，一块来听听看。
I want to thank the trustees, the faculty, the staff, administration, and congratulate the classes of 2017 and your parents and friends. To everyone to whom it applies, I wish you a happy Mother's Day. I think it is a great thing to have a commencement on Mother's Day. I'll never forget the relief on my own mother's face when I finally got my degree at Georgetown 49 years ago. Now, the fact that I actually got a degree 49 years ago almost certifies me for becoming a mummy at the Museum of Natural History. I know that. But I'll bet you this. I bet I'm the only person here who's been out of college at least 10 years who remembers the commencement speaker's address verbatim. And I learned the best speeches are short and relevant. We were at Georgetown on the front lawn. The speaker, the mayor of Washington, D.C., Walter Washington, was introduced with great fanfare. A foreboding dark cloud came over the lawn immediately. Lightning was seen. Thunder was heard. You could see it raining right behind the campus as the cloud was moving. And here was Walter Washington speak. Congratulations. If we don't get out of here right now, we're all going to drown. If you'd like a copy of my speech, contact my office and I'll send it to you. Good luck. If that was it. If we had had a race for president, and it was 1968, if the election had occurred in that moment, Walter Washington would have received the write-in votes of every member of our graduating class. So, I want to speak a little longer, but not that much. I recommend you take some time today to ask yourselves, what did I really get out of this anyway? What did I learn? What's more important, that I learned a lot of things I didn't know? That I learned how to relate to people who are different from me that I never would have met had I not come here? Or that I learned how to think about things? In a world where economic, social, and political developments often seem like the sociological equivalent of chaos theory in physics, how good am I, after all, at connecting the dots? Oh yeah, I got a university degree, so I don't believe in all that alternative fact business. I still think it's important to be as accurate as possible, and it really matters if you know anything, but can I connect the dots? Can I see the big picture? Can I see the patterns? And even if I can, what's behind it? Am I a better version of what I was 4 years ago, or have I actually changed in some fundamental way? And what difference will it make to anyone besides me? I recommend you take just a little time to think about those things today. Because you've got all these professors who worked hard, each in their own way, to get you to think about at least a piece of that. You've got your families that helped with their investment to give you a chance to have the space and support to grab a little piece of understanding of one of the most exciting and, I believe, interdependent and rapidly changing periods in human history. I think, for whatever it's worth, I'll tell you what I think. I believe that this global interdependence in the end will turn out to be a good thing. But there's a lot of good and bad to it. You get on the internet and do all kinds of searches and find things that are sometimes even true. But we also know that, like every other technological development, it is capable of bringing great good and great trouble. A lot of you, I'm sure, have followed closely as I have this whole global ransom over hacking files business. Turns out it was perpetrated by a young person in the UK who was thwarted by another young person, even younger, so that the damage done did not apparently reach any significant proportions in our own country. We know that this time of upheaval has thrown us together in different ways that benefit some people much more than others economically. We know that rapidly changing social and living patterns have been embraced by a lot of people, but have mortified others, and at the very least have left them dislocated. At the beginning of all this, there was, in theory, a more settled time when a higher percentage of people knew exactly who they were, exactly where they belonged, and somehow that was better. And that just depends on where your forebears were in that mythical time. When I was a boy, I fell in love with the great humorist Will Rogers, even though he was long dead by the time I was born. And one of his greatest sayings, I thought, was, "Don't tell me about the good old days, they never was." You have to ask yourself that. What do I think about this? Who am I? How do I fit in this world? Do you believe that it's the most interdependent age in human history? If so, is the primary object to have you and your crowd dominate it? Or do you want to create a world in which every single person has his or her shot at the vast wing? Do you believe constant combat works better to produce prosperity, harmony, peace, or diverse networks of people working together more likely to produce those good ends? There's lots of evidence on this, you know. If we could take the person in this graduating class with the highest IQ, if you could be identified, and we could miraculously spirit you off to one of these rooms and say, "You're going to be here 2 days, tell us what you want, we'll get it for you." And the rest of us were compelled to spend the next 2 days under the elements, hoping we didn't get a rain, drinking increasingly cold coffee and eating increasingly stale rolls. And the genius and we were fed 10 questions over 2 days. Over 2 days, you'd make better decisions. And your diversity would guarantee you better decisions than a homogeneous group of geniuses. We should relish our differences, and we should feel self-confident in doing so, because from a strictly biological point of view, genomically, we're about 99.5% the same, all of us on planet Earth. That is every difference evidenced in this crowd today. Gender, race, body type, hair color, eye color. Every single solitary thing we can see that is different is lodged in 1/2% of our genome. Otherwise, we're kind of carbon copies. Now, that 1/2%, since there's 3.6 billion of them in your body, is quite a substantial number, and it makes life much more interesting and much more important. But the point I'm trying to make here is that you can't nourish that diversity without first a bedrock acceptance in our common humanity. And yet we know in times of upheaval, when people are unsettled and their identities are not clear, that sounds like just pap. And tough-talking realism is all about how this group's a threat, that group's a threat, another group's a threat. I'll give you just one example. 0.9% of America's population are Muslims. 210,000 people have been killed in gun violence since 9/11. The percentage of them killed by Muslims is less than 0.3%. In other words, their murder rate is 1/3 the national average. But we've all heard about it. Does it mean we shouldn't be tough on terrorism committed by Islamic radicals? Of course not. But it means we shouldn't go around in a blind stupor, mixing apples and oranges and terrifying some of the most talented, devoted people in this country who want to make their contribution and who help make us better, because diverse groups make better decisions and make a more interesting life. No. Are there, give you another example. Are too many undocumented people in America? Yeah. Why? Because we've let over 30 years pass without adopting an immigration update. You can't change as much as we do without constantly revising your laws. If you want to protect your border and have standards for citizenship, and the underlying facts are changing all the time, you have to be prepared to update these laws. In the best case, probably every 5 years, but certainly every 10. And we know the reason that we haven't passed immigration reform, because there's been a lot of bipartisan support for it. Economically, it's easy to make the bipartisan case. But politically, it's not, because immigrants tend to be more communitarian in their voting, more familial, more belief that the government should do its part to help create better life chances for everybody. So we now have these crazy results. A guy does 2 combat tours in Afghanistan, risk his life for the rest of us. Whether you approve of what we're doing there or not, he did things that most Americans don't do. And he got taken off the street and sent home the other day. 2 combat tours. Kind of embarrasses me that we let a person risk his life for us and then kicked him out. A little town in West Virginia that was convinced that all the immigrants were bad. The man that ran the local Mexican restaurant was sent home. And the town was in an uproar. I thought we were only sending bad people back. He'd just been there 15 years, paying taxes, employing people, feeding people. Was it the right decision? Whether you think it's right or wrong, the point is this. You have to decide whether A, you think our common humanity is more important than our interesting differences, and a precondition for making the most of them, and B, whether we have a vested interest in diversity. Now, if you're a native-born American, you also have to face the fact that, like every other prosperous country in the world, our birth rate among the native-born goes down every year. And we are barely at replacement population levels. So without immigrants, our future growth rate will be much lower, and the tax burden that will be on those of us who are left will be much higher, because those of us who are older are the fastest growing part of America's population, and we consume more health care costs, for example. I'm not asking you to resolve this today. I'm not even trying to make a political point exactly. The point I'm trying to make is you have a precious resource in this country. It has given us, among other things, the best system of higher education, especially for undergrads, in the world and in the history of the world. This is a special place. I'm looking out at my proud friends, James Carville and Mary Madeline. I don't want to embarrass their daughter, Maddie, who's in the class, but I actually recommended she come here. And I said, you know, this place is great. They love community service. It's service-oriented. We've all got to expand our definition of citizenship to include that. I'm not arguing for any specific position. I'm just trying to say you don't need a world that will put the American experiment and all America's assets at peril by saying us and them is a better model than expanding the definition of us and shrinking the definition of them. You know, I do a lot of work. I do a lot of work now with the second President Bush. We have fought like cats and dogs in our life. We have disagreed over all kinds of things. But he's not afraid of immigrants. He would happily go with me to South Texas and have a political debate on any issue. And he knows we need them. If you look at his beautiful portraits of wounded veterans, it's obvious that some of them are first-generation Americans. This doesn't have to be a party issue. You have to decide, and your generation will determine whether we do diversity as a strength or a problem, whether we think our common humanity is more important or our differences matter more. Everything else is going to be background music. I promise you, much as I hate it, Russia's cyber warfare doesn't bother me. Not if America keeps being America. They beat us into space too, and look where we are today with our space programs. Life's always going to have problems. We have a serious challenge today to create more jobs in places where jobs have been left behind. But if we quit playing politics with it and think about how the best way to do it is, it'd be fairly simple and straightforward to do. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about what's in your mind and what's in your heart. As long as we believe our common humanity is more important, as long as we understand that different groups make better decisions than homogenous ones or lone geniuses, as long as we realize the great thing about life is not final victories, and the great tragedy is not final defeats. There aren't any final victories or final defeats. It's the journey, it's the deal. You stand up and do the best you can at the moment you have, and then you go on and live the next moment. It's going to be fine. I'd give anything to be your age again. Just see what's going to happen. Last couple of years, the 20 planets have been identified outside our solar system that seem to have sufficient distance from their suns and sufficient density that they might be able to contain life. Now, that's the only thing that will ever finally unify us here. Oh, look at that. It doesn't matter. You don't have to have ultimate answers. It's the attitude, the approach. Do you believe that when the founders said we had to make a more perfect union, they meant there needs to be more of us and less of them? Every year, more of us, fewer of them. Every year, believing we can do better. You heard Marx say, my professor of ancient civilization, Carol Quigley, said that our civilization was the greatest because it believed that the future could always be better than the present and that people had a personal moral responsibility to make it so. Which translated into my 1992 speak was, don't stop thinking about tomorrow. You can decide what it means for you. But believe me, whether you're a conservative or a liberal or a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter as long as you believe that our common humanity matters most. As long as you welcome the opportunity to cooperate with people who don't look like you and always agree with you, but make up this vast, teeming sea of humanity that is breaking down all kinds of barriers in knowledge. Don't choke the future. Lift it up. And don't ever be under the illusion that power can ever be the end of life and that there are permanent victories. There aren't, except in systems that choke themselves off and die on the vine. America is a work in progress, always becoming. And don't forget that there's a reason this great institution, or both these colleges, are ranked 4th in America in the importance of community service and public service. You don't have to be, and you don't have to hold a political office to advance the public good. So that's about all I have to say. What we have in common is more important than our interesting differences, and it makes it possible for those differences to flourish. Diverse groups cooperating do better than homogenous ones trying to jam things down our throat. And they are capable of morphing and meeting new challenges. No one should be left behind, and no one should be denied the chance to exercise a responsible role. The future is full of challenges, but there are even more opportunities. You're supposed to work all that out. And there's a reason that you're sitting on this lawn today. Think about what people were like the first time your first forebears of Homo sapiens stood up on the East African savanna between 150 and 200,000 years ago. From that day to this, most people who have ever lived had no choice about how they spent their waking hours. They had to struggle to put food on the table and support their children. And yet here you are, in one of the greatest institutions of higher education in the country that has 300 or 400 world-class undergraduate institutions of higher education. The great microbiologist E.O. Wilson says it's because we, along with ants, termites, and bees, are the greatest cooperative species in the history of life on our planet. And we have more potential and present more peril to the future because we've got a conscience and consciousness. So we're prone to arrogance, but full of unlimited potential. I would love to be your age, just to see what's going to happen. So remember that. No permanent victories, no permanent defeats, but a life of permanent possibility. As long as you remember those simple things. And the most important of all is, every single day, we should each find a way to expand the definition of us and shrink the definition of them. Because in the end, there's not enough difference to spend our life fretting about it. Good luck, and God bless you.
好，我们看到了这个是美国前总统克林顿，他花了很长的篇幅哦，那么希望呢这个全世界的公民消除歧见哦，不要再分你们、我们、他们不同阵营，其实大家应该有多元的思考，接纳跟你看起来不一样的人。他特别举了很多例子，说多元的团体才会做出最好的决定。如果大家其实都在同一个团体，一直在同一个圈圈当中，或许你做的决定会非常的狭隘。所以呢，克林顿请大家跳脱这样的一个思考，其实你跟我跟他其实差不多，看起来不一样而已哦。那么但是呢，其实大家身为人应该要思考的是，在这个世界当中，你应该站在什么样的位置，去好好的思考明天。好，这个是克林顿在这个毕业典礼当中，那么他刚提到了，这是全美国排名第4的私立学校，那么高等的教育当中，面对这样的毕业生，给他们的一些未来建议。